I'd like to call our March 30th, 2026 Roanoke County School Board Budget Work Session to order. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Dr. White?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Linden?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Greenway?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Hudson?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Clemens?
Yes, ma'am. Item 2.01, Presentation of Special Education Annual Plan. Dr. Beth Harmon.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the board. In your documents is the annual presentation of the Special Education Plan for Part B flow-through grant application. The purpose of this document is to provide assurances that our division certifies that throughout the grant award period of 26-27, we'll meet the federal IDEA and the Virginia regulations governing special education programs for children with disabilities. We're further certifying that the division has current local policies and procedures for the provision of special education and related services, which ensure compliance of IDEA, federal implementing regulations, and the Virginia Board of Education's regulations. Additionally, you've been provided documentation regarding our fiscal responsibilities of maintenance of effort, proportionate set aside for parentally placed students in private school, and our projected spending of the IDEA Part B, Sections 611 and 619 grant funds. And you have the comprehensive document that we ask for consent at the April board meeting. Do you have any questions? Promise you I'm always the fastest.
We thank you for that.
No questions.
All right, thank you.
I have some questions.
Yeah.
We don't understand.
See, I know. I use the big words and just say take the money.
That's right. Take it.
Item 2.02, Request to Accept Awards and Appropriate Funds. Miss Susan Peterson.
Well, I don't think I can be quite as fast as Dr. Harmon, but I also would like to bring forth some funds for awards that we would like to accept money for. So we have been notified that the General Assembly has appropriated funds to support economically disadvantaged high school students enrolled in Advanced Placement, International Baccalaureate, and Cambridge courses. The funding reduces exam fees for eligible students, limiting costs to no more than $20 per exam, and it is for students who qualify for free and reduced prices. The funding that we've received is $6,930. As typical our process and procedure, we always bring any new grants or awards to the school board to approve the award and accept it. And then we also make a recommendation to appropriate the funds from special projects in the grants fund. We do have enough money in special projects to receive this. And so what I would like to do is roll this into tomorrow's consent agenda so that we can go ahead and move forward with this grant award.
Okay.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Item 2.03, Amendment to the 2025-2026 budget for Chapter 7 bonus. Miss Susan Peterson.
Wonderful. So although we do not have a 2026-2027 budget yet from the General Assembly, we do have a signed 2026 budget, and within that Chapter 7 documentation, there is guidance providing funds to all school divisions to provide a $1,500 average bonus per employee for funded SOQ and support positions. We've done the math on this, and we will have to sign off by May 1st on whether we want to take the money. School divisions can accept it, not accept it, or apply for an equivalent action. We have done the math, and we do have enough payroll lapse that we think we can go ahead and just do a full $1,500. The recommendation would be due as what we did the last time, and we are allowed, although the language is not exactly the same as the bonus that was provided last year. We are allowed to put in the stipulation that if employees have a signed contract June 1st, then we will pay them the bonus as of June 15th. And I've already talked about the timing and logistics with HR, and they are on board with doing whatever we need to do. And so we would just request approval to do this if that be your desire. I do want to I got a question after the fact. The $1,500 bonus will not be $1,500 in our employees' pocket. Once the 35.4% taxes come out, it'll be about $969 that our employees will see cash in their bank account, around that amount. So just wanted to qualify that because I've already gotten questions.
I'm good with it. I want to give them everything we can. There's not a way to manipulate that a little bit so they get more out of it in some way with a retirement piece. And when I say that, I'm not talking about the VRS. I'm talking more about, like, could you give part of this into a I don't even know what governmental 401k is it? I forget what the number is.
The 403B.
403B, so that they get that tax deferred and they get more of that 1,500.
I do not know the answer to that. That's a great question. I can look into that and get back with you.
I do know from the county perspective, they allow you to cash in your vacation, and you can either
Okay.
take a check or you can put it in the 403B or 401, whatever it is. So that may be a good thing, and it's an option, right? So it would be something that you could offer to some, because some may actually need the money to survive, but some may want to put that back, and
Right. Well,
create
it's
a
way for
better-
them to get
yeah.
more of it.
that's a good idea too.
I'll have to check with the Virginia Department of Education because there are very specific stipulations around. We actually have to pay the bonus out, so that might change whether our flexibility and how we pay it out.
Good question.
But I will find out.
Okay, thank you.
And everybody's clear about what she's saying. The idea would be to use this as a retention.
I think we did this
Purpose.
last year, right? Same process. Okay. All right, are we good there?
Mhm.
Item 2.04, 2026-2027 budget work session number 4, Miss Susan Peterson.
And I'm sorry to belabor the point, but they'll need to take action to approve what you just said about the bonus.
Yes.
Do we
But
need to know
But we'll
that
get the
first?
information first and then.
Yeah, we need to wait until the General Assembly actually finalizes this.
Not for the bonus. It's already approved and signed by the governor.
Okay.
But what I will
But we
need to
would have
do,
to-
I will attempt to get an answer by tomorrow so that I can let you know tomorrow. Do you want me to pull it off of consent? Because right now it's on consent.
I'm okay with it, but if there's a way to give the employees more of that to keep rather than have to give it back to the government, I think it's well worth looking into it. Even if we have to, I don't know if we can.
Does it delay? Like if you were to do that and we didn't put it on consent and we didn't vote on it in the next meeting, would it delay them getting a bonus? So it's not going to make a
Put it on the
difference.
April 16th agenda?
I would just need to have it approved in time that I can certify May 1st that we're going to move forward with the bonus.
So like Mr. Linden said, yeah, April.
We could do that.
It's okay. Okay.
Okay.
I just want to give that option because I think for some people that may be a big deal.
So we'll plan for the April. We'll plan to not have you to approve
That-
until April 16th.
That would also reduce our expenditure if a good number of employees took that because we wouldn't have to pay. Am I right? The matching piece of, I don't know which piece it is, but the matching piece of the payroll tax, we wouldn't have to pay because we're not paying it for them.
I would have to look into that.
So I'm just thinking this is a win-win. And I don't care. That's not the right words. I want it for the employee. The benefit is not to benefit us. However, if that can be done, it may benefit us, if that makes sense.
So I'll find out that
Okay.
answer as well. And we'll move it to, we'll pull it off the tomorrow's meeting and we'll put it in for the 16th.
That's okay. Okay.
Are you ready?
Yep.
All right. Moving into our fourth, but probably not our last work session. I did indicate that the General Assembly has not adopted a final budget, so I do foresee us having to come back and provide a revision to you at some point. But we do need to go ahead and adopt a budget. And so what I would like to review with you today are employee insurances. I will just review the health insurance and then touch base with you on dental and vision insurance because we haven't shared any information on that with you yet. It's kind of hot off the presses. We have an updated CIP, and then I shared last night the 3 different priority list options, and we'll have discussions about that. So hopefully this will be maybe not as quick as Dr. Harmon, but hopefully pretty quick. So first, for health insurance, everything in these next couple of slides are just review of where we stand with the health insurance, to kind of just put everything in one place with a bow tie. We have an Anthem renewal for 1 year. This is the second of 3 allowable renewals, and then we would go out to RFP with our new consultant. We are self-insured, and our stop loss is at 250,000. So we have pulled out of being combined with any other entities for our health insurance plan. We are not going to change the deductible period at this time, but it is certainly on the radar to do as soon as we possibly can. And we are not going to put in place a spousal exception at this time, although it is something that we will have on the back burner as a possible change in future years if we think that would benefit us. What we will do instead is add the employee plus children premium tier. This will allow folks to, we have certain folks that already one employee plus multiple children that are playing the family plan. It will also offer options for our families that may have a spouse who they may save money by going to their own employer. And so our hope is by introducing this rate, yes, it's going to probably cost us about $200,000 of lost premiums. But our hope is that our employees will really take the time this year to investigate, to obtain their spouse's employer open enrollment data and compare the rates to see, what financially works best for them if they have not done that in recent years. We are going to go through an active enrollment period this year. What that means is no one will have insurance come July 1st unless you actively go into GHR and the employee specifically selects what plan they want to have. They will not roll over in their same insurance. So I just say that because that is not a process our school division has ever done. This is new to all of our employees, and we will have to have a lot of communication with them.
Will they see what the plan they have now versus the other four options, or will they go into that blindly? And the reason I say that is if they do, I think somebody needs to expect a flood of calls and not understanding this. We go through this and don't understand it. I can't imagine what an employee goes through trying to figure this stuff out.
Certainly. So Innovative has promised, we've added a third week to our open enrollment period. And, I'm speaking on your behalf, Mr. Bradshaw, if you want to jump in.
I was going to say, in GHR, they're going to see what they currently have.
Okay,
And
perfect.
then they're going to be able, but they must actually select it. Where before, if they didn't do anything at all,
Didn't matter.
we just
Just
automatically roll them. So one of the things we're working with Innovative, and one of the things my department's going to do it, we're going to call every single employee. If Dr. White knows you haven't signed up for insurance, what are you going to do? Mr. Lennon, what do you want to do? So anybody who doesn't actively do it, we're going to have multiple calls and multiple communications to make sure. The reason we're doing active, as Ms. Pearson was saying, is because we really want people to actually look at what they have and really compare moving forward, and it may, in the long run, save our employees money.
Can I add that maybe we should have in there, we're not going to do the spousal exemption this year, but maybe we should have language in there that suggests you might want to, if you've got a spouse on the plan, I don't know how to do this.
I don't either, but I'll ask Derek and see if there's a way to put that disclaimer or something in
it
there.
may benefit them
Yeah.
to do that. And
Correct.
just because it, like you said, it's easy, just go through, just leave me the same. But it may benefit them.
Just to put it in there as an encouragement, we encourage you to
Right.
do that or recommend.
Right.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be more work this year to do this. We know that. As soon as she said the word active, I was like, oh Lord, here we go.
Yeah.
Because we did it one of the time. I don't mean credit. I can't remember when it was, but it's been a while ago. And I remember all the phone calls and floods that we truly, because we're going to contact every single employee
this is
to
gonna
say,
be a
you had insurance. You haven't selected anything. Are you sure you want to drop our insurance as of July 1?
In fact, if you have some retirees, you might want to add one for a week or two. I mean, that can come in and answer those questions.
Correct.
We also need to make sure we have people that are good with technology to help the people who aren't.
Dr. Phillips, I will say, if Tracy's on the phone with them, and I think Innovative's going to do the same thing, is we've actually given them access to this piece of our GHR,
Gotcha.
where when they're actually, if they're talking to you, they can do it with them.
Okay, good.
We have helped our employees, because we do have a lot of our employees, especially some of our bus drivers and things, that just struggle with the technology. So we never let that be a barrier, even though our whole society is technology now. We try to help them as much as we can, just so you all are aware of that too.
Good. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I still struggle with technology, so I get it.
So do I.
And I do it every day.
You use AI now.
That's
For all
right.
his speeches.
That's what I call and say, what would Brent say, AI?
Mr. Bradshaw, is Innovative still planning on coming and sitting on site in different
They
locations?
are. Last I heard, they are. We have a meeting Thursday
Okay.
with them, with open enrollment, with Innovative.
Okay.
So hopefully I have more details and exactly, because what I'd like to do is actually put out a schedule so our employees can see it, that they'll be at Northside High School on this time at this date. And so they can actually go by and see them. Because they are one of our vendors, so therefore we can put them in our buildings to help our our employees go through this whole process.
And I'll get off of this subject because I'm the one that has to leave early today. But I want to also make it note, because I had a good meeting with my counterpart on the Board of Supervisors today. And one thing she brought up is that their employees' insurance was much lower than ours, right? And that's because they have a lot more cash they can throw at it than the schools. And I don't think everybody understands that. So when you hear we've separated and ours is higher than the county, it's because we don't have they haven't tightened their belts. They're tightening our belts. So we don't have the cash they have to put towards this. And I just want to make sure that's clear. We're doing everything we can for our teachers and staff.
Well, I think also that's a good point in terms of raises, because I know in the past that there have been comments made that, well, why do you guys not give the same raise, right? Well, I mean, that's kind of a dumb comment because we have specialized jobs, right, that have their own specific market for what that job is. In any pay study that we've brought up, we know that our pay needs to be higher, right?
Absolutely.
And then we're also having higher insurance costs. So you're right.
I agree with you 100%. I didn't say it as eloquently, but
I don't know how eloquently it was, but I mean, it's just the reality.
But it's true.
It's the reality of
I
things.
mean, you can't just get a teacher somewhere. They are specialized. They are specialized people, and we need them. Thank you.
All right. So then the next item is just the health insurance plan design. This is what we showed back in January. There are no changes, but like I said, I just wanted to have all of the information on our health insurance plan together. And then finally, from our last meeting, this is the recommended premiums, and you will see in bold, we did add the employee plus children. And so that's what we will have set up and we recommend. So now moving into dental insurance, I do apologize that it's taken this long to get the information to you, but changing our consultants and working through the minutia of everything, it just took a while to get this set up and get the information finalized. We do have a Delta renewal contract for 1 year starting July 1st. We are fully insured. This year we did pull out of the consortium. So we were a part of the consortium with, it was some dental folks and some non-dental folks with the city of Salem, the county, and ourselves used it for the dental piece. And then in addition, city of Salem, did I say that before? The city of Roanoke was in the dental. City of Salem was not in dental. Salem Schools and the Western Virginia Water Authority were all a part of the consortium. And they went to bid, and their consultant was USI. So we wanted to go ahead and pull out of that consortium so that we could make changes to the plan design as we wanted to and not be beholden to what Roanoke City or the county wanted in their plans. And so unfortunately, we were not able to make any plan designs this late in the game, but it does pave the path so that next year, maybe we can add a low option for anyone who may want it, or possibly orthodontia if that's something that is overwhelmingly desired. Our premiums did increase. They haven't increased for many years, and it was just time for the premiums to go ahead and increase. So here is the Delta Dental, kind of the plan itself. Nothing in the plan is going to change. So everything on here is basically the same slide as what we had last year. And then the Delta premiums are laid out on here. So you can see the impact. They also have several programs, the Healthy Smile, Healthy You program. It is for members that have heart disease, cancer, diabetes, a weakened immune system, kidney failure, or pregnancy, and they just have additional program for those folks who qualify. And they have a special healthcare needs program that will have extra cleanings and exams and treatments for folks who have sensory sensitivities, behavioral challenges, severe anxiety, and other barriers to treatment. They have a behavioral oral health report. It's a dashboard that helps them identify at-risk populations, monitor changes, and help influence behavior to get everybody in and get their teeth cleaned as needed and fixed as they needed. They offer virtual dental visits for 24/7 access, and they also have a program for Amplifon. Sorry, I should have tried saying that before I came here. Amplifon. And this is up to 66% of retail savings on care through the partnership with that entity. So just some variety of other pieces that folks can benefit from with our Delta. Moving into our voluntary vision. So this is a fully paid by the employee. This is a completely optional program. The renewal that we got will be from July 1 of 26 all the way through 30, and the rates are not going to change. They haven't changed from last year, and they're not going to change in that whole time. And there will be no change to the plan design or any of the rates, like I said. So this is the Anthem Blue View Blue Vision. And they have a Anthem Whole Care Connection program, which provides them with a dedicated account team, connected vision and medical to help with your overall health. And then they will provide health reminders to our employees as well. And so the benefits are exactly the same as they are this year. They will be next year. And then you can see the rates are off to the side and they are not changing. So that's what we have for employee insurances. Moving in, the capital improvement plan that we are going to provide for final adoption will be the one that includes the renovation of Arnold R. Burton into an alternative public day school for the $15.4 million. And I did go in and take a look. I sat down with Mr. Kegels on some of our pricing and went back to our costing sheet for all the remaining schools: Northside Middle, Glenville Elementary, Hidden Valley, Burlington, and Penn Forest. And although we're using the same costing structure, I changed how the interest was calculated to better reflect what today's dollar is going to cost, in 5, 10, 15 years down the road. And so you will see that the prices down here in this column and some of the dates have moved out a little bit as we try to true these up. The approach that I used was a tiered approach, kind of a phased-in inflation approach. For the first 3 years, we used a 3.5% inflation. The next 3 years, we used a 4% inflation. And then beyond 6 years, we used a 5% inflation on the overall cost. And so I just did want you to know that that went up. And I reviewed that with Mr. Kegels, and he seemed to be comfortable with the numbers as they stand now. So
I add just a little bit to that after my conversation today as well. So first off, I hope I'm living to see some of this. We used to kid about that. We keep pushing this stuff out, and I guess because of the costing, I don't have it to compare with our old one, but I'm assuming we've moved a year or two back on several of these projects. So that just means a lot of these projects get moved back on the renovation schedules, right? So, and I think we need to probably have either a little work session or in one of our work sessions or in a meeting, some information and talk about a couple of things. So I'm probably not going to bring that up, but, Cheryl, Dr. White, maybe I should have this conversation later too, but I think we need to look at our CIP and where our needs are. Because certainly I don't think we can leave Burlington where it's at. I think it has got to be addressed. If we wait till 2:30, I mean, this is what our Board of Supervisor counterparts need to understand. If we wait till 2039, we'll be having classrooms on top of the school. I don't know where you're going to put these kids. We're already, correct me if I'm wrong, we're already at max capacity, I would think.
What part of the issue, when we redid the CIP in 2019 at the board's request, it's all based on instructional. The placement of Burlington right there where it currently stands was based on what we knew at the time.
Right.
And I don't want to put Mr. Cagles on the spot today, but to your point, I think that is something that probably needs to be revisited.
Change, right?
Right. In terms of some of the, structural kinds of things that I know he has kind of pointed out. I think you're right. I think you're going to have to consider change the placement. And you're talking about 2039. I noticed that's the 100th anniversary of the school. So it's obviously an old building. But it's had updates. But
this is why I don't like demography. How do you say that? Demographic studies, because they're just. I mean, I can give you my opinion in time, and I can go ask different companies, and I can go ask the schools. I can go ask different people what they think is going to happen in 5 or 10 years. We wasted our money in 2017 on that demographic study because, we were going to, Bonsack was going to start elevating, not fast, but it was going to start increasing in numbers. We're down to 60% of capacity over at Bonsack now. So you've got Burlington, which I don't remember specifically, but I think we were more elevated, kind of even, maybe up.
And we just shifted some enrollment last year, from Burlington to Mountain View, right?
Yeah. So, but now we know that we're bursting at the seams, kind of at Burlington, and it's a 100-year-old school already. So, thank you, Paul Mahoney, for your comments about capital infrastructure. That's one we can use that information you brought, and we know that at Hidden Valley High, it's lower numbers, and Hidden Valley Middle is, so that may be some fruitions we can talk about. Cheryl Ficciani, when she was here, I give her credit. She came up with an idea. I know we're going to have to spend some money no matter what we do, but she suggested we get out of the city and bring that over to Hidden Valley High. And so, maybe those are things, and let me say this, I'm not putting words in our mouths. I've said this before, and we were told schools needed to close. They were thinking in terms of schools closing. So, these are decisions I just think we need to have that conversation about CIP at some point, and for good reason, for us too, not just because they're, wanting to close some schools, but I think we need to have that conversation. And then I think maybe we, because they're going to have to agree to the funding going forward. So they're going to moan and groan if we take Bonsack out of the rotation because it's at 60% of capacity. But hey, it's one of the ones that need to be talked about. I'm not going to ever vote for closing any of these schools. But, if we're going to talk about it, we need to be rational and understand. They talk about Fort Lewis. I'm sorry, Brent, they talk about that. Somebody told me one time, when you take the school out of the community, you take the community, the whole community out. So anyway, these are tough decisions, but I think we need to have a conversation about the CIP to see what our priorities are. Now, maybe we need to ask Dr. Nicely and Dr. Soltis to do another 2019 study. I don't know, but
the other thing to keep in mind is this plan is built on the current 2020 model, which was commented last week. That might be up for conversation too. So
and what's funny about that? Let me say this, and we had this conversation about me calling people names. I'm going to call people names until we have a joint meeting. Let me just say that. Let's have a joint meeting and sit down like adults and talk to each other. I appreciate that Tammy reached out to me. I asked King Phil to do that over the last 4, 5, 6 years. He wouldn't do it. She took the initiative and sat down and had a conversation with me, and I appreciate that. But it's time that we get together and know, what their thoughts are on, because they're going to have to fund what we do. We are the ones that control that, but if they want to have some input in what their thoughts are, let us know. Don't hide behind political views or worried about getting reelected. Let's just be honest with each other. That's what we owe the Roanoke County citizens.
Well, I think the last joint meeting we had, correct me if I'm wrong, was the demographic study that they paid for.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the gentleman basically said, you can't close any of these schools down. You have nowhere to put them.
Yep. We're doing a good job with the enrollments.
I mean, an argument could be made from a business perspective that if the schools were made bigger, where you could combine, say, Fort Lewis and Glenver, but you can't. The building infrastructure is not there, and I'd never stand for any of my schools to be closed down.
Nope. Agree with you, buddy.
But the study that they paid for, I mean, it should have ended this argument 2 years ago. I think it was 2-3 years ago. That should have ended that argument.
Politics won't allow that, buddy. Nope. So anyway, we might, but I think we need to have a discussion about this and revisit it. And I think Burlington has to be brought to the forefront in some manner. I'm not trying to put pressure for that to be the first one, but they've got a exploding population.
It is one of our. I think that's one of our biggest challenges. That, along with obviously staff pay, is the infrastructure. I mean, you're talking about Glenver Elementary, 1959. You walk in, you can tell. I mean, I'm not saying that it's in terrible shape, but yeah, it's made in 1959. It's serving a purpose. But obviously, there's some areas that could definitely use some improvement. Northside Middle, same thing.
Oh, sure.
I mean, you walk in
All of these
Northside Middle,
schools need improvements.
And
let me finish this. I meant to say this and didn't, but we were asking to get inflated up to 17 million to do a 3 to 17 for our CIP. And I'm not going to say which one, but you can figure out which one came up with the idea that we needed to give 20. We appreciated it. Absolutely. And it'll be used in, it's been used in our planning moving forward, but they're the ones now coming back and saying, well, we shouldn't have done that. They were the ones that brought it up. We didn't ask for 20. We asked for 17. And so, now they're going back and saying, wait, we got to pull that back. So anyway, I'm off that soapbox, but I think we need to have a good discussion where we can talk about this.
I agree.
Yeah.
Okay. So then the last thing we have to talk about is our priority list. And we've got 3 options. I sent them to you late yesterday. I apologize I couldn't get them to you earlier. I'll just real briefly say that the options are to just adopt what I shared at the last meeting. So there's no changes to the priority list from March 11th. That would provide a 3.5% raise. Option 2 is to fund $696,276 to provide a 4% raise by taking some hard cuts in other areas on the priority list. And then the third option is to reduce priorities by $1.4 million, providing a 4.5% raise to the school divisions, and taking an even harder cut at some of our other priority items that are definitely still needed. Dr. Soltis, did you want to?
I'll let you go through the cuts first.
Okay. So on this slide, this is a difference between option 2 and what we looked at on the March 11th priority list. And so it's between option 2 and the March 11th, and then option 3 and March 11th. So each one is standalone, but they're both compared to the March 11th list. I don't know if I explained that very well during the email last night. So to provide a raise and just the employee raise side was $614,140 under option 2 and $1.2 million under option 3, and then additional VRS. So it's not a savings; it's actually more VRS costs now. Your savings are going away. It's $82,000 to cost and 164,000. And so if you add those up in your separate columns, that's the total amount of other priorities that we would need to reduce. The first item that was on the list that we added back was teacher substitute increase of 200,000. And while currently during the last March 13th payroll projection, we are at 75% of our substitute balance. And we don't think that there's a lot of cushion in the substitute balance, but there was 269,000 cushion in the leave payout balance. So if you recall, we implemented the option for folks to be able to cash out part of their PTO leave and part of their sick leave once a year. Last year was the first time that we offered that, and we did it at the end of the year. So we were kind of sweating bullets up until we closed the books. So this year, Mr. Bradshaw changed the policy, and the payout occurred in July. So thank goodness for his insight to go ahead and pull that forward, so that we now know that we've got a savings in that line. We do think that savings, although we want to hold the budget out there, but that would certainly cover any additional need for substitutes at this time. But I do want to reiterate that the fill rates are so high because of having the advance notice due to the new PTO program that he has put in place. We definitely want to keep our eye on that, and that's certainly something we will follow back up with to add back in. The next item on the list, and we would take both 200,000 out of both options on 2 and 3. The next item is the payroll lapse. So this is basically budgeting a negative payroll lapse. We have done this before in the past. I don't like to do this. This is not best budgeting practices for a school division because we are in a position where when a student comes to us, we must staff accordingly if they have high needs. And so typically that's where these one-offs come from, is from our payroll lapse. And so it's not my favorite thing to do, but our payroll lapses have been between 1 million and 3 million in the past 4 years. And so even in our lowest year, I think $300,000 reduction to the lapse would not have been too awful painful in any of these years. So I think that is I don't want to say comfortable, but for being an uncomfortable item, it is a comfortable level for an uncomfortable item. The next item is to change the HVAC parts price increases. And so we partially funded that on the March 11th. Option 2, we use the textbook adoption plan transfer to allow us to fully fund the HVAC parts increase. But then in option 3, we just took it all away. And so option 2 would provide $50,000 to maintenance, and option 3, they would get nothing.
Is that something we could pull out of CMP?
Certainly.
I mean, I think that'd be you can't change the prices, and we've got to have HVAC. Right. So I just feel like CMP would be the place to.
I was even going to say take 40,000 out of payroll lapse if Todd needs it, but I know that's another 40,000. But in the scheme of things, I can't imagine. Again, uncomfortable but anyway.
Well, at the end of the day, we're going to tighten it up. We know why, and we can't go without HVAC. So I wouldn't be.
HVAC is one of the larger items on his CMP.
Yeah, that's the only reason I'd hate to take it from CMP, to be honest. But unless Todd says it's okay, I would rather.
We're essentially already doing that, so then
through that
items that have large costs come along, we don't take it out of the maintenance budget. We don't take it out of CMP.
And we need that. Susan, would it not be okay to? And that's the only thing I was going to actually. Brent brought it up, but the only thing I was going to say is, could we not make that 360, 400? I know it's. You hate to take any, but
I mean, we could.
I mean, again, if you think we don't need that, but I mean, I can't imagine that's probably our biggest maintenance item. I would imagine.
It's expensive.
I hate it, and it's not the 40,000. I say not, but in HVAC parts, and I know this from the personal or the residential side, HVAC has absolutely exploded in cost. So I don't know how you do without any of it, but I would kind of rather make that 400 on the payroll if Jamie and Ken are okay with that.
Wait, and your other option, you can do that certainly. Your other option would be, correct me if I'm wrong, leave it that way. But if he finds that he's underwater in his budget, we can always
Come back
transfer
to it.
across categories too if we had to.
Okay, I'm
Either
good with
way.
that. I just want him to have it available because I know what HVAC's cost me right now.
We have to come back and get their approval to do that, though, right? Because it's cross categories.
Well, it may not be cross categories.
Okay.
Because if it's in maintenance already and we're just using, if we have positions or laps in maintenance, it wouldn't change functional category.
It would depend on where the labs is.
Yeah, you can do it either way.
The next item is the textbook adoption plan. Option 2 reduces it $213,964, and then option 3 takes it out all the way. This is not the only transfer. This is just an additional transfer. We were made aware during this budgeting season. We have had about $2 million set aside for the English adoption coming up, but we have learned that it's going to be closer to a $3 million cost to adopt because of all the high quality new VLA Literacy Act materials that we're going to have to purchase. So to cut this, it's kind of low-lying fruit because it's just a transfer to another department that we don't need, or fund that we don't need today, because we're not going to buy these materials in fiscal year 2027. We were just putting in half of it this year, and then that would build up with another $500,000 next year because it would already be in the budget to where we would more easily be able to fund that increase. But this would definitely be a place where we would want to, if we have any one-time money, backfill it into the textbook adoption plan so that we can purchase those materials. The next item, Mr. Terry went through and took a look at our 6th grade laptops. So we're just carving down. Typically we would go ahead and enter a new lease and replace all of the 6th grade laptops. We're going to extend the warranties instead, and then hold on to the current laptops. And so that'll save a little bit of money. And then last, he also had shared that each of the Promethean boards, it was originally on the plan to replace a set of them. And instead of doing that, he had costed out what it would be to replace just the little chip that goes into it, the operating system. And that would take every active board in the division and put it on the same platform. So the hopes was that it would just kind of streamline everything and get everyone on the same playing field. But at the end of the day, the active boards are still working. There's nothing wrong with most of them. I don't think there's anything wrong with any of them, but I can't say that totally because I haven't been in every classroom in every school.
The bottom line is the panels would still work.
They're still working. Yes.
Well, while we're on that topic, I know we had discussed a couple times in regards to laptops and keeping them on a cart instead of every kid having them and taking them home and them getting beat up and that kind of thing. I would imagine that would save us tremendously, but I don't know when would we be able to start something like that.
Something we'll need to look at to look into the future, especially with I'm just being honest with you, with all the AI that's coming in and the ways kids are able to use the technology to keep themselves from actually learning.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the day, I think that's a long-term conversation about what we can do, but putting them on carts at certain grades, I think my personal opinion is appropriate. Right? I don't know why, especially at the elementary level, kindergartners, first graders, but there's all kinds of stuff coming out about screen time and the harmful effects it has on the developing brain.
Of course, they're already on carts in elementary.
Right.
So they take them to middle class.
Yeah, it's something we need to look into.
So Are you good?
So that's it.
So all I'd say is this. First of all, I'd like to thank Dr. Nicely for his guidance in me developing my first budget, and I'm glad I'm getting baptized to learning how to make adjustments on the fly because of changes from what we were expecting. But I want to thank Susan and all the directors as well for collaborating, being willing to look at their budgets as tight as possible. I met with Jeff's group today, and I understand that all these things are needed, right? I mean, in a perfect world, we'd fund everything that was on the list. But we've had to make some difficult decisions, like you said, in this economy where we're trying to get competitive salary-wise, we're trying to get competitive benefits-wise, as far as health insurance rates. We've had to make some really difficult decisions. My personal recommendation is that the board really consider the 4.5% raise. I believe that we should prioritize our employees and the salaries they get so that we keep the best. We're good, not because of the programs we have or the materials we have. We're good because of the people that interact with our kids every day. And to me, that should be our number one priority. So for me, that's what I would encourage. And then I know there's been lots of comments with forecasting that the state legislature is going to give us more money and we're going to get more money. Well, I watched Christmas Vacation not too long ago, and man thought he was getting the bonus for the pool, but he ended up in the Jelly of the Month Club. And what I mean by that is until we actually have the money in hand, I think we have to prepare for where we may not get it, right? So for me, prioritizing the people first would be the main thing. And then if we do end up getting more money, using some of that one-time money to put back into the textbook fund, Susan and I talked textbook, fleet, HVAC, and CMP would be the areas we'd want to take that one-time money and put it back in when it comes along. That's just my personal opinion, and it's your guys' decision as to which way you want to go. But I've always respected this board because you guys have always tried your best to give the maximum raise possible, and that's what we try to do. So I'm getting good at this, though.
If I just add one thing, and Dr. White said it well, I think in our previous meeting, as far as us being able to ever gain market share against our neighbors with our salary, I mean, it's really going to take something more substantially to that over a short period of time to make headway. I do, based on what I think I'm hearing, I think 4.5 will be, a little above what probably most of our neighbors are able to do this year. So I think that will help us to gain a little bit of ground.
Thank you. And hopefully absorb some of the 23% insurance increases for the majority of our employees.
But the good news is I think we're only passing 10% of that on to them. So
Yeah.
That's good. Yes, I want to echo the same thing. I take your recommendation, and I'll certainly agree with it. And thank you and Susan and staff and everybody in here that was a part of this. We've had challenging times, but through our conversations today, we're going to have more challenging. It's going to get more challenging. There, the one thing I'll say is that on the board of supervisor side, there have been no belt tightening, right? We've lived within that revenue for 20-some years, 22 years. We've lived under that revenue sharing agreement. They've lowered it a time or two, right? We went from 44 in my time. We went from 44% to 41%. Now we're going to 39% once they take that $3 million. We always live within it. There's been no belt tightening on the other side. So I want to know where our people are that say we need to live within our means, that you know how to spend your money more than they do. We get 41%, or now it's 39% every dollar that comes in as revenue. Just remember, the schools are tightening. Are we tightening on the other side? I haven't seen any. And so when we hear about the insurance is going up for us, but they're still able to keep it down, that's because they take that $3 million from us. They take the excess of revenue that we have at the end of the year. They keep that, and they raise revenue every year. Right now, I think it's another $10 or $12 million this year. They're still going up. The schools went up a little bit, but we didn't go up proportionally. And so, we've always lived within that revenue sharing agreement, and it's always been a good tool. But let me say this: the last thing I told Tammy this afternoon or this morning when we met was, and she neither confirmed or denied, but I think you can listen to their comments from what I've heard Tuesday. You can also see that letter that was sent over to us from Mr. Kaywood, that this is the beginning of them needing more money for what they do, right? In my mind, schools are getting devalued. and told meeting with Tammy, I appreciated it, but I'm not going to change my posture or my stance. And so we have to realize that, it would be nice to see them having to tighten their belt. And those monies that they said they had to spend for us, I think we can rebut every one of them. SROs, they get a grant from the state. They weren't in favor of giving us SROs until they got the grant from the state, and then they were all about the SROs, right? Same thing on some of those other issues. But I told her going out, I said, you ought to get all the money you can get in the next couple of years. Dr. White, with all due respect, is new, and he's getting his feet under him and doing a great job. David's going to do whatever they say. Shelley is, chair, and Brent is tied in with the sheriff's office, and it's tough, being the only voice right now. And so they, I'm the only one pushing back, and people are tired of hearing my voice. So we need to, if we're going to tighten on this side, we ought to be tightening on the other side. We've grown 100 employees over the last decade, and probably 80 or 100 million over the last decade in size of Roanoke County revenue. So just, we'll do our part. We'll help and we'll tighten. And our teachers, God love them. They are amazing. And, we want to give you a 20% raise, and, but this is the best we can do, and it'll help offset the insurance piece. But hopefully we get a little more from the state. That was told to me. We're getting more from the state, so they're taking it from us. Don't understand it. Would have a totally different philosophy if I were over there. But you need to play within your means, and I think we've done that well. We've been a very good partner. And look at the product we're turning out. 10th out of 130. Have I got that right, Dr. Nicely?
Yes. Well, one thing I'd like to add, it's been brought up several times too, that, well, you have a lot less students than you had 10 years ago, right? You had 1,000 less. I think we were at 14,000 maybe 10 years ago. Correct me if I'm wrong. Yes. However, I guarantee if you look at the amount of problems, whether it be behavioral problems or special needs, I believe if we were to run the numbers, that is way above what it was 10 years ago. You look at some of the things that come out of legislature that causes us to have to hire more people, right? So some of the stuff we can't control when it comes to growth like that. But I do feel like if you don't understand education and you don't understand exactly what we're doing and why, then it would be easy to look and say, well, you have 1,000 less students. Why in the world do you still need the same percentage of revenue, right? Well, we still have the same amount of buildings. The infrastructure is what it is, unless we want to spend, $80 million to build a gigantic elementary school that can house 2 or 3 of them, right? We're not going to do that. But also look at the CSA funding. That's an easy way to look at it, right? If you look at CSA, look at the amount that has costed over years and how much more it's increased. That kind of answers the question. The responsibilities are greater today than they were 10 years ago, right? We may have less students, but we have just as much responsibility, probably more than we had before. So that kind of, because I know that argument comes up a lot. Well, you have less students. Well, it doesn't mean we have less responsibilities. And to be honest, we all know what's going on in society, and that bleeds over into the schools. It does. And I'm not throwing off on anybody. I'm just saying that we have more behavioral problems. I mean, we have a lot of expulsion hearings. We have a lot of special needs, right? Kids with special needs and stuff. And we have to make sure that they are given an equal opportunity as well. And that requires more employees and more expense. So just to clear that up, I think that's always a question that comes up. And if you don't understand education, you really don't understand all of that.
And so one last point to my conversation today was she invited me over to sit with, I don't know who your counterpart is on that side now, but to sit with them and hear because it needs to be articulated from somebody. So wants me to come over and sit down with whoever it is and go over that $5 or $10 million that they said they're spending on the schools. And I told them, you're not going to like this, Susan. I told them I'm only coming if I can bring Susan, because I said I know the background of all this stuff. I'm that guy that's knows a little bit about some of it and doesn't know anything about all of it. So I need Susan or somebody, but
I'll come to protect.
Yeah, I'd love for y'all to come, and let's, now, in all honesty, they should have called me before they got to this point, and maybe we could have hash this out, I wouldn't have been so boisterous. But I think once my counterpart understands that some of these numbers are bogus, and even some of the stuff Mr. Kaywood sent over here, it's disingenuous on a few of the numbers, and maybe all of them. But so I may ask you, if you don't mind, to go over and we'll sit down. I don't have any problem sitting down. It's no use doing it after the fact, but I'm willing to sit down with anybody and talk. But I'm good with that. So I say we move forward with the 4.5% and move on.
I agree with 4.5.
So these are decisions that we can come up with now, but we have to vote on this
Tomorrow.
next. Yeah. Okay. Awesome. And thank you for kind of reiterating some of the things I was pointing out. You took the words out of my mouth, so I don't have to say much. But I also wanted to just highlight that going forward, stepping beyond the feelings that come up with fighting about how much money we're getting or not getting, we'll continue to do what we're doing now, which is to be good stewards of the money we have and looking for creative ways to make the money work for our people. And I appreciate Dr. Soltis and Susan and everybody for working so hard on these numbers, and we'll continue to push the needle upward and close that pay gap that exists from the state average to where we're at now. And I have faith that we'll keep working on that. So appreciate it.
Thank you. I think we should annually look at all the inputs we put in, where we're putting our money, and making sure that we're getting the outcomes we want from them.
Yeah, I think that's important.
Yeah, thank you. I'd mentioned to Dr. White, I think it was after the last meeting, I think this was the most difficult budget season we've had. So Susan and Jamie, thank you for your efforts there. Well, I think option 2 might be the most fiscally responsible. I can get behind option 3, provided that if that $3.7 million difference, if we end up with the House budget instead of the Senate budget, which is what I'm hearing is probably going to come out of Richmond, that we make sure 2 consecutive years of not doing the fleet replacement is almost $5 million that we've cut from that. And that's concerning. And want to make sure that we need to put our employees right at the top, but we need to make sure that we're looking after our students as well and their safety. So anything that we've cut from this list, I think we want to make sure if we do get that $3.7 million additional from the state, that it goes into things that were cut and not an additional raise for employees.
No, I think our recommendation would be textbook, fleet, HVAC, CMP. The things that we cut the bones to put back in.
Yeah, but other than that, no, I know it was difficult, much more difficult than we've had in past years, but I think you guys did a nice job.
And I don't want to discount Dr. Nicely's contribution. He was a wonderful advisor.
Yeah, I would just reiterate that. Thank you for all the work you put in, and thank you for bringing us several options that we could take a look at. I think it is probably best for us to go ahead and secure the 4.5 with the funds that we know we have, which is what you were saying, and then come back if we do get additional funds and try to take care of some of those other things. I think that's probably our best option at this point.
May I ask one clarifying question?
Okay.
Mr. Greenway wanted the 40,000 covered by the payroll lap so that we could fully fund HVAC. Do you want me to do that, or do you want to let the payroll laps fund it if we need it?
I would like to do it. And then if we need to reappropriate, we can always do that way. But I think that's much cleaner.
You're saying the alternative is that we could move funds later if we need them? Is that what you were saying?
Yeah, and we've done that this year. We've used payroll laps to cover other. Actually, we've used. Trying to see, Mr. Cagle was over there. He's hidden behind a screen, but we've used the payroll labs to cover contracting out HVAC positions when we haven't been able to hire. So
And that's not a category that you have to go across town for.
if it stays within maintenance, it will be fine. But if we move it outside, and overall, they only care about the total number, and so it'll be if our total spend goes over and above. So, and that's what I'll have to do tonight, is actually run everything through our accounting system, the raise and everything, line item detail, so that I can provide those categories to you tomorrow.
Thank you. And can I finally give them some options on getting ambulances and fire engines? Let's close the Green Ridge Center. That's about $500,000 a year. Am I not supposed to say that, Edie? That's about $500,000 a year, and maybe the library that's less used at $11 million this year, and maybe we put some people over at Woodhaven and get some economic development. That'll help us pay for those quickly. So thank you for all the work y'all done.
Thank you, Susan.
Thank you.
Anything else?
So Ms. Peterson, just to clarify, so they're taking action tomorrow. Will this be one action item, or like the CIP and so forth, with those separate items?
I have them separate.
Okay.
Mr. Bradshaw will have the pay plan ready. It actually already is ready.
So I was waiting on those numbers that you told me today, so I'll have it ready tomorrow.
Then we'll have the insurance, we'll have the CIP, and the
So
budget.
the other question becomes, I mean, do you want to do it on consent, or do you want to do it as action so you can, unless you have further discussion or comments you want to make, which you can make comments anyway, but
Y'all don't want me to discuss.
You gotta go, man. It's 4:30.
I know, and I gotta go.
I guess we can, I mean, we're all, it sounds like we're all on the same page, so
right.
it could go on consent. I think it just depends on if people want to be able to make comments or not. Or we could make those comments in your final comments at the end. So.
Right.
Or we could tell Tim he can't speak at all, whatever we want to do.
I think that's fine. Put it all in one consent. I mean, I'm fine with it.
Does it make any difference having it as a consent versus action if we want to make sure that anyone that comes out tomorrow has a chance to speak specifically on it? I don't know if that makes a big.
That's an excellent point.
It is a point. And also, are you still presenting it if it's on consent? Because generally we don't,
If
right?
it's on consent, I would not present it.
So maybe we should have it on action, and
I
that way
think
you
it's a
can
good idea.
present some information. That way we're completely transparent. Like you said, if someone wants to speak, that way we've covered all of that.
Transparency. That's a great idea.
Tim
I think
still,
it communicates
Tim still
better,
talking.
more clearly.
Well, hopefully they'll be happy. I mean, a 4.5% raise is pretty good.
Yeah, I think it just gives her an opportunity to actually make a presentation about
Right.
it and hit the highlights on it, and then
Yeah, because not a lot of people watch a work session, so you're right.
so at least
Yeah.
yeah, and then I don't know. I think
Good
it could go either way,
recommendation.
but action's probably better. I think.
Can we go away from filming these
What's that?
now?
Yeah, we might as well stop filming.
Are we
That's what
are we good here?
transparency.
Okay.
Oh, I did have one more slide. I
Oh.
apologize. And this is important. The Board of Supervisors, originally I had on here that we would go present the budget at their second meeting in April, but staff has asked us to come over next week. And so we will present our budget that you adopt tomorrow next week at the Board of Supervisors. And then I think everyone's well aware of the special session and when the General Assembly is planning on vote, and then the last 2 days didn't change. But I wanted you to have the next week's
Thank you.
date on the calendar.
All right. Meeting adjourned.